Hello and welcome to buildingSMART webinar. This webinar is part of the buildingSMART virtual summit for spring 2022. Thank you for joining. My name is Laura and I will be your moderator today. Today's webinar are titled Welcome to the Construction Room, Importance to Use Case Breakdown on Construction Site, and IFC and IDS for Cost and Scheduling Improvement. Our speakers are Ken Endo from Kajima Corporation, Konstantinos Kessoudis from Zublin AG, and Veljko Janjic from Bexel Consulting. This webinar is scheduled to last an hour and a half with a short question and answer at the end. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event within 24 hours. Before I hand over to our speakers, I would like to remind you that your phone line will remain muted for the duration of this webinar. If you have any question or wish to make comments, please use the section-specific chat box in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. I would also like to bring your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standard is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. Now I would like to hand over to Ken.
Hi. Hello? Yeah, I'm Ken Endo, chairman of Construction Room. Welcome to Construction Room. This is the opening session of Construction Room, and I guess many of you are joining BSI Summit for the first time. Therefore, I want to explain the purpose and what the room has done, what we are doing, and the upcoming plan of Construction Room. So let's start. First, I want to inform you our 6th anniversary in this year. And I would like to introduce the short story of the early stage of Construction Room at the beginning. Construction Room was established in the summer of 2016 by Kajima. From year 2016, Kajima joined buildingSMART International. Just after joining BSI, we attended our first summit meeting and found that most topics discussed in the rooms were technical and general construction managers could not reach relevant information to manage their construction sites by BIM. It was the trigger that we proposed to establish the Construction Room. And the picture was our first room session, which was held in Jeju Island in Korea in autumn of 2016. As a chairman, I declared the opening of a Construction Room, and I introduced the purpose and our activities there. Following several slides are cited from the section. 6 years ago, there were only 5 rooms in BSI: building, infrastructure, technical, product, regulatory. The chart shows activities of each room at that time. To be honest, now I am amazed that the topics discussed in buildings room, such as MVD FM handover, MVD energy simulation, MVD scheduling, MVD quantity takeoff, are quite similar as what we are discussing in Construction Room. But 6 years ago, as a newcomer of BSI, I found that those topics were very technical, and it was focusing on creating the fundamentals of IFC schemas and MVDs. So I decided to approach from the applied side and try to expand area of using IFC by combining with IT, IoT, and manufacturing. As the chart in the center circle shows, 5 rooms, building, infrastructure, airport, technical, and products are directly connected to IFC. Construction room is not connected directly to IFC because we did not approach BIM from IFC, but from use case with IT, IoT, and manufacturing, such as robotics, machinery, logistics. There are many file formats and data schemas in each domain. So we started to establish interoperability between those data and try to migrate them at real construction sites. In one word, we try to start data management of construction site. So we assume that attendees of CR was not only from construction domain, but also from IT, IoT, manufacturing industries as well. So our targeted domain is not single, but combination of different domains. First one was BIM plus construction. 6 years ago, usage of BIM in construction phase and field is not popular than today. We started to use the word construction BIM, and it has been rapidly spreading, and now it is recognized as a major part of BIM usage in building life cycle. Next is BIM plus GIS and BIM plus AI. TensorFlow was an AI engine developed by Google, and anyone could start to use AI and applied deep learning of image to construction domain. Now, we have many cloud-based BI tools which can attach and store the remotely divided data sources and use many analysis tools online as well. Next is BIM plus drone plus laser scanner. Now it is very popular to measure landscape with UAV and used in many civil engineering projects and in large-scale building construction projects as well. Cloud-based automatic navigation system, such as drone deploy, are used at construction sites as well. Next one is BIM plus 3D printer. This technology is still under developing stage, but some construction materials, such as temporary materials for formwork, are created by 3D printer at factory, and some trial building automation with large-scale 3D printer started. Now, virtual reality is handy tool, both cost-wise and operation-wise. But there were a few use cases to use them in construction sites in 6 years ago. Now we can use a variety of Excel tools not only virtual reality, but mixed reality and augmented reality. I believe that IFC format had a big role to bridge BIM and XR technologies. Last one is BIM plus IoT. The picture were very early stage examples. It could send just text message to smart device and inform status of Windows opening. I could not imagine at that time, but BIM with IoT had been widely migrated in operation and management phase, OM phase, and became one of the fundamental technologies to realize digital twins for facility management. Remember, year 2016, there were Rio Olympic Games, UK's Brexit poll, Donald Trump became the president in the United States. Those events happened. Technology is changing, and BIM is changing the building industry very consistently. After Jeju meeting in year 2016, we held construction room at Barcelona, London, Paris, Tokyo, Düsseldorf, Beijing, and following the latest 4 times virtual summits. Those are the topics we have discussed. Topics are widely spread from construction BIM to digital twins. With help of many persons in many countries, we enjoyed sessions and they are quite successful. With a variety of technical topics and high-level use cases by highly motivated company in the world. We could browse around the BIM from inside out and understood roles of BIM holistically in construction workflow and software ecosystem. Now I can say that what I wanted was use case management and data management of BIM at the construction site. Through my 6 years experience of construction room, I can explain the CL domain with this chart. To know the history of IFC is the best way and recognize where we are on its history. We do not need to memorize the exact year and the version of IFC, but to understand history of how we have extended IFC is worth doing. And to understand data management of construction site holistically is more important. Fundamental role of IFC is establish and keep interoperability between BIM software. And primitive way is file exchange between software with operation of humans' hands. So we can gather some IFC files of structure, architecture, and MEP and lay over them on classic software. And it is a typical use case of file-based IFC. It means that ordinary IFC is used as file format exchanged in BIM software, and software vendors created their product exporting, importing IFC, which can be accredited by BSI. Recently, role of IFC is expanding, and we should recognize IFC as a schema of data. IFC file is written in a step. It is text-based file format, and you can see it with plain text editors. While most of native formats of BIM software cannot be opened by text editors. Under the strong policy of Open BIM, IFC has been expanded with plain file formats, such as IFC XML, IFC JSON, and many researchers and vendors have been studying serialization method from IFC to database, such as relational database, graph database, and migrated them to their products as well. On this trend, role of IFC has been changing from file format to data schema, and it is getting to be machine readable, exchanging data from machine to machine or system to system. So finally, we reached to CDE with API. And this area is rapidly developed, and OpenCDE API is proposed by strong leading of BSI. On the other hand, upper side of this chart, we can find many IT tools at construction sites. It includes smartphones, optical devices such as 360-degree cameras, laser scanners, and robots and UAV. Especially optical devices and related cloud service are released more and more every year, and the prices are getting lower. And those devices can generate spatial data, such as point cloud, 3D walkthrough view. And we have head-mount display also, Microsoft HoloLens, MetaQuest, etc. Those devices are not generating data by themselves, but bridging 3D data to reality on the construction site. Those devices are not only for construction. Therefore, the device cannot receive the IFC file straightforward and need conversion by software in some cases. But now, devices and cloud system are connected directly with API by internet. So we can use suite of software, which we can call software ecosystem. That is why we need the robust method of information management on construction sites. And we need use case management system to share those knowledge. From now, I want to present the updated construction room charter documents. Construction room is categorized in user-focused rooms. So we are fundamentally based on user side and helping to use IFC and related standards from beginner to advanced person. Our field is mainly construction phase and pre and post construction phase as well, and create open BIM based workflow. There are our vision and missions. Advanced digitalization of construction, incorporate forward-looking construction technology into the development of open construction solution and standard. Developed best practice of construction site management based on OpenBIM. And provide OpenBIM education to the industries. And we also have an approach to create the method for BSI standardization. First, share the use cases and store them to use case management service. And create IDS, it stands for Information Delivery Specification, and MVD for extending use and interoperability of BIM data. The scope of construction room includes the following aspects: digitalization, OpenBIM education, document sharing and management, project information management and collaboration, communication technologies. And we strongly commit to 4D and 5D and submitted activity proposal of 4D, 5D, IDM MDBD project, led by the Veljko, one of the steering committee member of construction room, and started working group collaborating with other rooms. And moreover, delay analysis, claim management, location-based planning and process monitoring, logistics and carbon footprint analysis are also under our targets. If you are trying to establish construction room in your local chapter, please let us know. We can help to create charter document and adapt your local activities. Finally, let me introduce steering committee member of construction room. Now we have 6 members. We can guide and suggest to establish activity in construction room. Not only software and schematic standardization, but hosting, society and change building construction industry. Starting up the community is the first step, which we can input our knowledge and receive many feedbacks from the construction field. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, Ken, for your presentation. I would like to hand over to Konstantinos.
So thanks a lot. So to go on where Ken already mentioned use cases, I would like to emphasize a little bit the importance of the use cases and the breakdown of the use cases to our construction site processes. That's very crucial for the construction room, but I think also for all others. So what we are talking about. So we are talking about communication, we're talking about understanding, we are talking about implementing the right things. We have right communicated, right understood, and right implemented. So this is the idea. So if we do things a little bit wrong, it will look like the picture above. So what we don't want to do. And if we are talking about use cases, so what is a use case in detail? Just step back and try to make a common ground to, or just bring a common ground to that discussion to the audience here. So a use case is defined within buildingSMART 2019. It was defined a process in which a project team develops BIMs of the existing conditions for a site, facilities on a site. Nice description. The use case is a starting point of IDM, so Information Delivery Manual development, according to the ISO 29481. Also correct. So what does that mean in practice? So in practice, it describes an expected result of a process in the phase of planning, building, managing of a building, which is executed digitally. So it gives us the frame of digital processes. And we look on a picture to allocate these use cases between the landscapes of the execution company and the client, or between client and contractor. A use case is used on a project to describe a digital part of the contractual work, at least. And as it is allocated between client and company, execution company in a project, automatically it's a shared information and it's a common information. Shared because it's shared on a project, common because it's part of the market. And where we are there. So if you look there closely, we see we still not have sufficient common definition, structure, and language to understand each other on a construction site smoothly without any big discussions. By the moment we have BEPs written, ERs, and they are written always individually and executed individually, and this has some difficulties. So if we look on the other side, so what is the actual problem? So if we have this not sufficient common definition, structural language in use case, there is an impact. And the impact by the moment is that every participant writes down his own use case, which makes it difficult because all the people have to read all the use cases to understand what we do in the market. This makes it somehow difficult to connect company systems to fulfill the requirements we have described in the use cases somehow automatically to our already set up solutions in every company, and we don't have the time to add that solution or to connect that solution always by hand. The next problem we face is the use cases are still not broken down by the construction industry to an execution level, or by the planning offices to an execution level between planners. We have a big discussion ongoing on the high level on what are the customers requiring, but what's about the level, the execution level. In summary, this makes it very difficult to connect really digital solutions to a construction site, because on a construction site, also as in the planning processes, we have a lot of interactions, a lot of processes going through companies, connecting companies. So if we want to make this somehow better, so what we need to be a little bit better in that, this is an actual discussion, what is worldwide ongoing, is we have to define, we have to find a common definition on what is the use case. As you see on the right upper picture, so use case is a process, is a frame of that. It has an input, it has an output, it has roles, it has skills to fulfill it. It's a digital service at the end we have to fulfill. And if we look a little bit in the middle of now in the project, what we see is there's appearing somehow a structure. And we need this structure to understand each other. Where is this use case really allocated? Is it a use case defining what a client is asking for? Or is this on level 3 a use case we share between execution companies to fulfill what the client is asking for? And this discussion by the moment is, I think, still needed and ongoing, and will hopefully end in a common definition, structure, and more than that, syntax and semantics, so we can understand each other about what we are talking and what does that mean if we describe a use case. This will have also an impact to that. The impact this time is a little bit better, is green. So the customer request is breakdown to the execution level. So the customer sees at the end what is inside what he asked, and what is and how it is executed. It makes it possible for us to have reproducible digital processes, and by this, a standardized connectability to the company solution landscape. So the company solution landscape will always remain something in a company, either client or execution company. But if the middle part, which is common and shared, is understood and agreed what we do on a construction site, it's much more easier to connect our solutions there. And this will help us to establish process chains independent from company size to achieve this digital collaboration. Imagine if this now, by the moment, is a big effort to connect always your solutions to the demands of a client on site, but also the demands of the collaboration, even for bigger companies. How big is this effort to do for a smaller company who has always to connect itself to different general contractors, to different clients, and makes it really, really impossible, even for smaller companies, much more than for bigger companies. So therefore, I think it's a very helpful and very needed thing we have to do to make this digital process chain really happen in construction industry, or in the construction sector, in the whole sector. So this will bring, again, BIM really on site, because on site, when we have the drill down to the processes of logistics, the processes of manufacturing, and in depth, this is the base for connecting to lean. So it's very obvious that this is the next step. So if this is what we need to define, or what we need for use cases, and we are working on that, we have to think one step further. We need a landscape to make a framework to connect processes and data to be able really to execute that. So if this is what we want on the top level, you see, well, this is what we want to achieve. The first thing, as I discussed, is defining a common structure, syntax, and semantics for use cases, and to make this breakdown of use cases on site. This is ongoing. Once done this, or meanwhile we do this, we need a platform. We need a platform to store all this information with a concept of, and we need a concept to get from structured document to the end of these steps, totally to the left, to machine executable data model. And we are still not there. So we are on the beginning. But if we don't start with a structured document, we will not reach the next step, which would be a machine readable document, which will be the next step, will be a machine understandable content. And therefore we need syntax and semantics, because there you see the verb understandable, and to understand something, you have to make it understandable. And once we have taken all these steps, we can really achieve a machine executable data model, helping us to make these connections faster, more efficient, and also on higher quality. This is a part I think we discussed already in use case management, buildingSMART. And I thank the colleagues very much for setting up this use case management platform. I think this is a very big move from buildingSMART to start here with the structured documents and to discuss the next steps of functionality and services. within buildingSMART. But if we have the processes, at least the public and common and shared processes defined, there's not the end where we want to stop, because what we need more, or to what we need also to have a complete solution, we have to connect processes to data. And there you see also the big importance of this process definitions. The process definitions give us a filter for all the data we have. We have a data sea, we have a data big data pools, and these data pools we can't handle if we don't have as a criteria, at least as a process criteria, the use case management to give us an outbreak, to give us concrete selection of data we need for the specific process. And therefore also we need a concept of functionality and service for data to be filtered and connected by use cases, or to use cases, or by use cases to fulfill it. And this is a very big thing we have to discuss, I think, in the future. So we have two layers. So one layer is the national consolidated and structured data, fulfilling the needs of the market. Out of that, we have the project data to be used in every project. And all things are somehow connected. And this somehow connected, it's also something we have to accept, that this is, I think, a discussion we have still to do. And here you see the relation also of use cases to data management. So the common, the CDE is to be defined. How is the role of the connection to make the handling of use cases and data. And also what already Ken mentioned. So if we look on this page, and this is quite complicated, and try to simplify this as much as I could to show up this complex relations. We will have a lot of use cases, we'll have a lot of data, and we have to think about to make the connection of data and processes more flexible, to make it easier. We have to cross the border from a text file towards a triple, towards information stored in a triple. And I think we have to discuss the role of the API also very fundamentally, how it can help us using API to have this flexible connection of data and processes, especially when it comes also to the CDE. So this is my proposal, or my presentation to get you an idea about the importance about use cases, and why we are asking all the examples we do in the construction room to be reflected as a use case on the use case management platform. As a summary, use cases are one of the most key elements of digital processes. They are, I think, to my understanding, they are the key of common understanding what we do on construction side, and not to end like the example of building the Tower of Babel. So as they are shared between all participants, they must be described on a platform, a common platform and external platform, to achieve at least the most three things we have to achieve to make this smooth collaboration on construction side. We need this common understanding of structured processes as described. We need this as to be able to make a repeatable connection to IT landscape and solution of all participants. And this is the base for digital logistic and fabrication processes on site, shared by all execution companies and all planners. Otherwise, we will not be able to do that as serious. So once the ongoing discussion, as I've showed you, the discussion is still ongoing about how to structure and define the use case, but this will come recently to an end, I think. So once the ongoing discussion on a common definition of use cases is finalized, I see a great demand for a functional use case management, best connected to data management, and this will reprise very fast. So especially by execution companies, we will see a big demand of storing use cases, having some services of the use case management to be able to execute that on site. So buildingSMART use case management, to my understanding, has the best position to be the platform to support in the first step this common understanding just by uploading the use case on this platform, see what the others do, having it in a structured way, and to provide in the future the demanded services. But it's an intensive discussion we have to do. So it's not, we have taken the first step, and it's a very good step, I think, we have taken in buildingSMART with the use case management. But I think the discussion will be intensified in the next years, and I'm looking forward to do that with all of you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Konstantinos. Now I would like to hand over to Veljko.
So, thank you, Laura. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So first, I would like to thank a lot to Ken and Konstantinos for great presentations. And especially now, use case management is crucial because that's why we are all here. We don't want to develop, as we say, BIM for the sake of BIM, but we really need to have something developed which is very useful for construction industry and can optimize construction industry. So I'll give you an overview about IFC and IDS for cost and scheduling domain, what is the current status, and ideas for future improvements. As this is our construction room, and the project for IDM and IFC enhancement is coordinated by our construction room. Here are some members of the team who are essentially today involved in this project. I would like to invite you all to join if you want. I would like especially to thank to Dion and to Jovan for their great contribution for what is developed currently in IFC standard and what can be enhanced in the future. So as it is said before number of times, any new standard has to be fully neutral and to enable interoperability between various tools and platforms. It has also to be fully robust, so not dependent on any company, region specific standard and common practice. And for these more detailed structures which can be localized and more specific, we have, of course, an excellent option to use BSDD. So there are also some ideas which might help in the future to slightly enhance BCF, for example, for BIM-based look-ahead plans or progress monitoring and so on, or tendering packages and other use cases. BCF could be very much useful. It needs to be slightly enhanced in the future if possible, and this will allow us additional flexibility. As Konstantinos mentioned, everything starts with use cases, And today we have many stakeholders, and what I have to emphasize here is also we have a lot of changes and updates. And if we cannot have any automation of those processes, any templates, any standards, it's going to be very difficult to manually handle those changes. So one of the big ideas is, of course, we discussed about this a lot of times, is to have ability to have IFC incremental model. So not necessary to update or upload entire IFC file on the server if you just added 2 new walls or just change 3 properties. So this is something which definitely will be very, very important, because in design and in construction stage, literally on a daily basis, situation is changing. And if you don't have this ability to automatically or semi-automatically manage and handle those changes, more or less, even if you have a perfect data model, we won't succeed, because nobody will have a time to handle, let's say, change of the schedule with 10,000 tasks, or QTO, which has, or bill of quantity with I don't know, 5, 10, 15,000 cost items and so on. So here are some standards which are used in our work, and you are, I guess, familiar with this. This presentation will be shared, so you can read this when the presentation is shared. What is also very important document, coordinated by Leon and his team. So technical roadmap, buildingSMART is essentially the key document for us and for our work and development of new standards. So also Leon yesterday mentioned about information delivery specifications, and of course they are crucial. So everything we develop has to be within this framework. BSDD is another topic mentioned yesterday, and of course, especially for some local specifics, local standards, and so on, it is crucial to use BSDD. I'll show you at the end some just short examples how data enrichment can help us. Konstantinos already mentioned about use case management. And of course, the idea is to have everything integrated. So I will just briefly now mention about the phases of our initiative. So phase 1 is 4D IDS, then in enhancements, exchange requirements, and so on. Then we have phase 2, where we are discussing about 5D, so cost, resources, and so on. Then we should have also integrated 4D and 5D in planning phase, then 4D and 5D integrated in construction phase, and optionally also some enhancements of BCF. And of course, the idea is to in parallel coordinate our activities with other rooms within buildingSMART International, and to give ideas for future enhancements of IFC and BCF. Of course, especially related to 4D and 5D. So these are some existing schemas, what we have. And maybe the key challenge today is what's happening with the updates. And I'm going to refer to this several times. So maybe we have end results at the moment, and we have some small improvements which we can have in the future, but the key challenge is if we are transferring the data from one tool to another, more or less what we are going to get are mostly end results. So if we, in another tool, update the model, we are not going to have updated cost estimate, because there is not enough semantics, or the system won't know to which task new walls added recently should be attached, and so on. So the challenge is what is happening with the updates, and the key problem when we are dealing with updates are that they are very, very frequent. So there is no project where there are no updates. So this is a schema we already have. So you can see existing IFC. So we have a plenty of information for cost and scheduling domain already available. And this is a great, valuable thing today. Unfortunately, as I said, when we transfer the data from one tool to another, maybe it will look very nice in the beginning, but with the updates, it's not going to cope, because simply we are not transferring semantics or enough semantic data at the moment. So this is, again, a cost and schedule ability. We have this cost value and cost item, but unfortunately cost value is more like end result. So it's not, we don't have some things which I will mention in the later about Bing queries and so on integrated at the moment. The same goes with the 5D cost. The only maybe missing at the moment thing is that we don't have clearly defined what is called the cost classification structure, which can be, for example, uniformat is cost classification, which is used on a number of projects. But then we have a special project cost structure, which is unique usually for each project. More or less, unfortunately, it's mixed today, and we need maybe to develop, we can use more more classifications, but we need clearly to define the use cases and differentiate those two things. So there are some specifics in terms of standards. So one thing is, for example, we can, in IFC 4.3, the idea is to define a specific user order of the elements which has to be done with the task. And it works well, and it's good enough for the beginning. But the problem is that, for example, if we have let's say, a road, and we are using IFC alignment as a direction, how it's going to order the elements within the task. If we update the model, the system will not know that order, because it just manually entered, let's say, GUIDs or something like that as an order. And if we update the model in another tool, we will lose that information, and we have to do that manually. So more or less, this is a key example. So this is what is achieved today, but it is, if we are just transferring something which is not going to be updated. If you want to have a flexible system in the future, we need to add this direction and enhance this. Of course, it's not easy. We need to add plenty of things in order just to add direction as a order of activities. So then we need to have what we call at the moment, this is temporary, Bing queries. So for example, to add this to any of the tasks. So when we are updating the model, the system will know that in that task are non-bearing walls on the second floor in the left-hand side of the building. So this is should be defined a Bing query, and then whenever we update the schedule, the system will automatically have a new elements attached to the task. At the moment, we have end result, but again, when we update the model, we won't have it. The same goes with the cost items. So the key question is, we can have a nice end result with cost estimate, but the problem is what is happening when we update the model. Then we don't have a good place at the moment for quantity formulas, and it should be defined on a cost item level. So it helps us to automatically create new cost estimates if the model is updated, so not just seeing end results. Then there are some other tasks, possibly might be cost classification item. So this is a company standard or country standard or anything else which is related to let's say a global cost item we are about to use on number of projects. Then we already discussed about this in IFC 4.3, but it was not feasible to finish this color legend concept, and then some advanced functionalities and so on. What is, for example, finished within this IFC 4.3 was predecessor task calendar or successor. This is important for task relation work flag. It's more or less mandatory, and if you don't have this information, this could cause a different Gantt charts in the different tools. And another is also to have a specification of constraint priority. Is it on the project level or Gantt chart level, as late as possible or as soon as possible? There are some other things which could be also discussed: IFC task and cost item, then relation to baseline schedule, which allows us to produce earned value analysis for various cost, performance, schedule, performance indexes, and so on. And then for allocation-based scheduling, maybe we could have also this relationship between the task and the zones, and possibly maybe in the future even task methodology. So here are some things just to briefly go through these examples. So in this case, you see that one cost item in a cost structure could have more cost items or BOQ items in the project structure. So we can have a same type of the form work defined on a different locations, and it's not necessarily a good option to manually have all these items here in this cost structure. It has to be in a BOQ items. This allows us to change all data just once and immediately see the changes at the end. The next thing is also ability to connect cost items with the tasks. It is theoretically possible, but it is not used at the moment. And unfortunately, a lot of tools which support project management does not have fully developed this concept. So this is something very useful, especially for construction industry projects, and very useful for material procurement analysis or activities, detail, and so on, and allow us, whenever we update the model, to immediately have updated structures. As I said, location-based scheduling is also a nice use case, which can be arranged with IFC zones and any additional information attached to the task. As I said before, this is a great example how end result could be generated at the moment with using IFC cost item and cost value. The problem is that we don't have a semantics, so this is more like end result. That's not full semantics behind, so whenever you update the model, it won't update automatically. How this could be achieved with, for example, having in a cost items quantity formula, then we could have a special IDS checks, so we can check if all properties which fulfill that criteria have all these properties, so if the quantity can be calculated properly or not. And then we could have a Bing query as well, which is very useful for analytics. So these are different examples. So this is a beam-based, this could be IFC-based, uniformat-based, so you can define different types of the classifications and have those queries and cost items. As I said, the key use case is that you have a cost editor, and whenever you update the model, new IFC files are coming, and immediately the cost estimate is updated because you have everything predefined here. The same goes with additional cost. It's like taxes, other costs, and so on. So just move forward. So this is another example. You have a 201 element. The cost estimate is calculated. The model is updated. You added new elements and so on, and immediately everything is changed. So this is a use case we would like to cover. Of course, we are using quantity formulas and element queries related that connected with beam-based cost items. Next thing is additionally maybe to discuss about the option of having a different groupings. So for example, this is the same cost estimate with the same totals attached to each element, or same tasks or cost items attached to each element. But what we would need also to have a different groupings for tasks and for example, for cost items, tasks, and some other classifications. So this is something which can be discussed, so to have some sort of IFC classification group, and in this case we are organizing this according to 3-4 levels, and in this case on grouping this in another way. So we will have the same result, but visually it will look differently and analyzed differently. The next thing is also that we, as I said, we need to add groupings and Bing query information to the tasks, and this will allow us automation when we are updating the element. So for example, here in our implementation, you have some creation rules and link rules. So whenever you update the model, it will automatically create new tasks, create new relationships, or update the costs and elements attached to the tasks. This is an updating schedule process. So again, automatically, if you have properly done this, whenever you update the model, you will immediately see a new number of elements attached here. Even a new task can be optionally generated, and of course, cost and everything else is updated. Another thing is IFC color legend. We discussed about this. So essentially, to any IFC object, so in this example could be IFC task or IFC cost item, but in general could be any IFC object, so IFC element, of course, and others. We need to have something which is defined, which is IFC could be named color legend. So it could contain IFC object. Of course, this is still preliminary. We will discuss about this. So it could have usually name, description, and what is very important, Bing query. You need to have a color code, and optionally, I will show you in another example, it could have a more levels. So it could be also classification. So it's not single one level color coding classification, could be more levels. So anyway, the idea is today we can maybe transfer the information about the colors of the elements, but again, if you don't have this Bing query or rules, how this will be colored whenever we update the model, we will lose that information. So the concept of color coding could be applied to tasks, cost items, elements, and all other things. So this is an example with color coding of the tasks. And again, a useful use case. This is color coding of elements per assembly code and so on. Another, at the end, thing what could be interesting is also maybe think about further automation and increase of productivity. For example, to add also task methodology specification, which also with Bing queries could be attached to the elements and have a scheduling logic or scheduling methodology. So as a template, how you are going to build the project. So as I said, to wrap up everything, with Bing queries, we could have plenty of automation. With some other functionalities suggested in further development, we could have improved workflows and additional semantics, and much more easier handle the changes in different tools. For the future, what might be also interesting, a look ahead plans, for example, which could be some sort of extended BCF. So we have here automatically generated selection sets, which can be, of course, saved as a BCF in a different structure, so organized by subcontractors, resources, and project tasks. What is missing, what we can notice here, is plenty of folders or subfolders automatically generated. So what will be definitely very, very useful if BCF support any classification, grouping, or at least a folder structure, because then this communication will be much more smooth. At the end, we could have also and discuss about, that's why we mentioned the baseline schedule, also about earned value analysis, cost schedule, performance index, and other indexes, which are very useful for project management and analytics of the projects. So at the end, I will invite you to join our next lectures in the construction room. So tomorrow on Thursday and tomorrow, Thursday, and on Friday, there are going to be 3 additional presentations. I hope it's going to be interesting, and you will see also how those functionalities could help in having more open tools. So at the end, I will ask Dan if you can show these two videos as a trailers of presentations of my colleagues where these integrated workflows are shown. So Dan, could you help me? Okay, so in this video, it was automatically imported and reached model with, for example, uniformat assembly codes. Then directly in Bexel Manager, with using a simple knowledge base, which formulas and templates should be used in an Excel, so very, very open, easy to read. The system automatically create the cost structure because he used all data coming from IFC. And essentially, when you receive the bid from the contractor, automatically entire cost estimate is generated. But what is very important, you have a cost database behind automatically generating from IFC. And literally, you will see tomorrow how from a basic IFC models, you can automatically create instantly cost structure, and then with using tailored construction methodology, automatically create the Gantt charts. And so this is an interesting example how this full automation can help us to immediately have literally in 15-20 minutes Gantt chart simulation, but also cash flows, resource usage analysis, which help us in material procurement and so on. And at the end, you have this nice animations. Of course, this is just end result. The key is the data behind. This, of course, can be exported also into IFC, and you can exchange the data. You will see also how this is transferred in this case to our online application Bexel Viewer. And again, the idea is to have a full support of IFC and BCF. And when you have created simulation, maybe Dan, if you can show next video, that's going to be shown by our colleague on Thursday. So this is when you have a simulation, how you use a BCF to send information to the site. So this is a simplified look-ahead plan with all elements. But as I mentioned, you can divide up this per each subcontractor. This is how you load that BCF in Bexel Viewer and just fine-tune the schedule. For example, say, okay, certain walls have not been finished. When you do that, send this back as information. So this is a current status in a viewer. You send back this information as an actual progress from the site. Import this in Bexel Manager. Immediately have all quantities. Immediately see. So because it's automatically done, you can use also RFIDs or any other way to track the progress automatically. You see all analytics, earned value analysis. These are reports exported into Power BI and all analytics. And what also is interesting, this is a Bexel Portfolio Manager, which is a multi-project and multi-version environment. So you can see delay analysis or various other analysis or track the changes in your model when you are updating the files. The key benefit is also the ability to host all these server or cloud-based applications on client premises. We believe in terms of data protection that this might be beneficial. So thank you very much for your time. And now I guess, Dan, we will have a Q&A session for all of us. So thank you. All your questions are most welcome.
Thank you, Veljko. We'll bring Ken and Konstantino. We've got a few questions. The first one, it's from Edgar. Is asking how much of these use cases are captured in BSI tools, as shown yesterday.
Yes, I'd like to answer the question. And yesterday, there's the session about the use case management presented by Thomas Gladly. And then he count up the number of the usage of the use case management system. And on that, the total number of publication, it means the posts of the use cases, are 76. So not much at this moment, but gradually it is increasing. And the registered user number is the 1,829. So I guess it's on the process to use commonly and to share the use cases worldwide, but very locally, especially in the German chapter, enthusiastically start to use this system. That's the situation at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. We've got another question from Yasin. He's mentioning that this is a great presentation, Konstantino. Do you think we need more KPI to create more use cases to fit on-site situation?
Yes, I already answered the questions in the chat also, but I can repeat it. I think, yes, we need KI or artificial intelligence to help us to find new use cases, better breakdowns, whatever. But I think the first step would be to really define a common syntax and semantics, how we describe use cases, because how a computer can understand us if we ourselves don't understand each other. So how we expect a computer then to bridge that gap of non-understanding? It will cost much more programming effort to do this, rather than to use artificial intelligence on a once find a common definition and syntax and semantics. Does it answer the question?
I guess so. Thank you. I know you already answered the other question from Edgar, who's saying great presentation. It really hits all the idea we've been discussing in our company. I do wonder how it would scale, as there are reasons for company not wanting to share for fear of losing the competitive edge. Yeah,
that's a good question, because every company is always wondering itself whether I share too much or I share too less. As I try to figure out the picture with these red lines above and below of a use case, the solution, I think, is always company stuff. It's not shared because of there is a fear of loss of knowledge. This is one side. On the other side, if another company is trying to copy all the solutions another company is doing, they have to copy all. It's not the copy by copying that you get the ideas. You have to structure yourself as the other company is structured. So it is all what is below of that line. Red will stay in the company, I think, for that two reasons. But all what do on a construction side, we should frankly share, because there is no even now we don't have any hesitations to share about our concepts and about our organization of work on construction sites, because we win this project together, and we can fulfill the project together, or we fail together. And therefore, I think in construction industry we have much more collaboration rather than other industries because of this problem. So it should not be any problem to discuss it very public about how we organize the works on site, because we meet every time each other on site.
Thank you, Konstantinos. Would you like to add or share anything else before we close the session?
If I may, so Lara, just to ask you, there are other questions we see here in the chat. So can we answer to those questions as well?
Yeah, sure. Not sure which one.
Okay, so just for example, Sergey had some interesting comments. So I really appreciate how he mentioned that certain things are available or possibly used differently. So to be honest, he referred that the quantities are there already. To be honest, my opinion, of course, I don't say that there are plenty of other experts in this area, is that the moment that this is not sufficient, and cost item and quantity item are not always the same. Regarding grouping, again, we don't have a hierarchy in the grouping. So the key question, just to wrap up the answer, is would like to hear and most welcome to see any example when we can easily transfer full semantics and the data from one tool to another. So this is what at the moment, by my best knowledge, is missing. So Sergey, if you have any examples how this can be done at the moment, of course you are also a member of the group, most welcome to present to us how this can be achieved. Another is okay, comment was that at the moment IFC tasks are not used very much. So again, the idea is also not just to develop a framework, but also to promote IDS and best use cases. So to support tools, how to structure in the same structured way, export IFC task, cost items and other data. So this is one of the key goals. Just to, yeah, there was also a comment from David Delgado that IFC group, it's not used at the moment, and we don't have these partnership structures and so on. So definitely this is something very important which has to be done. Okay, so thank you all for your questions and comments. Edgar mentioned also color legend idea that he likes. I have to say this is something which really will help and can be used literally for everything, and maybe one of the most useful features, because you know, we like to see something visualized as well. It is not I'm not referring to just rendering or some nice movie videos for as a movie production, but it helps us to identify flaws, to identify better, to understand the data and so on. So that's why coloring and color legend concept is important. So to help us to visually see and analyze the data. So that's the primary top goal of this color legend concept. So thank you all again.
Any other comments? No? Well, I will be closing the session then. Thank you all for attending today, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the other session of the summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.